And it's going to be coming down to the mindset. Most people, they want mindset, and they need to be able to keep themselves on track, just in life, in their relationships, when it comes to their business, when it comes to investing. But how can we utilize on the mindset that it takes to be the underdog and beat the FA Cup champions? Yeah, that is what we're going to get into. So wherever it is that you are, please do comment and just say, like, if you're around the world, let us know where you are. If you're in the UK, let us know what city you're in. Yeah, and let us know what you guys are doing. And if you're watching this live, put a hashtag live so we know your questions were on here live. And if you're watching on the replay, put hashtag replay. Now, listen, we're going to get so much value out of this because mindset is everything. So do make sure that you tag people in this feed, whichever platform you're watching it on, and also give it a share. Like, share this link on your feeds, on your profiles. Just give people a chance or the opportunity to see it. If they want to get some value or they see value in it, then awesome. Yeah. Oh, look, we've got Shane Duff on here. Yeah, listen in the car. Make sure that you're being safe, Shane, being safe. So thank you so much for coming on here. As it says in the title here, we have someone who has tremendous amounts of experience when it comes to getting the right mindset to achieve things in life. So, Kay, thank you for coming on. I'll let you give the whole name. I've been struggling with pronouncing it for the last couple of weeks.
It's all right. That's why everyone calls me Kay. It's a lot easier, but it's Kayode Odejayi is the full pronunciation, but Kay works fine for me, no problem.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on here.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good. So, absolutely, we've been looking forward to this one. A lot of guys in our community, they're really into the mindset. They know that that's what it's all about. But just before we get stuck into some of that, Kay, give us like the brief version of like what was it like for you growing up, what got you into football, and where you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so obviously, as you mentioned there, growing up like most young boys, you grow up wanting to play football, and that's the dream. I didn't particularly pursue it. I mean, I started quite late in football terms. I was already sort of GCSEs done. I'd started sixth form. My cousin, or second cousin, should I say, who's a professional footballer as well, Ade Akinbaye, he helped me get some trials. So I had trials at Millwall, had trials at Bristol. Bristol offered me a contract. Millwall wanted to see me again. Cut a long story short, I signed for Bristol. I wanted to kind of get out of London, thinking, that would help me focus on obviously trying to achieve that dream. So that's where the journey started. Bristol City for a few years, 2-3 years. Got actually released from Bristol, so had to think about things, reevaluate it. Went non-league with Forest Green, made it back into the league with Cheltenham, from Cheltenham to Barnsley. Few loan moves, Barnsley to Rotherham, and then a few other sort of part-time clubs towards the end, and then sort of ended up with the personal training and the fitness stuff that I'm doing now. So long story short, yeah, that's basically it.
That is awesome. That gives us some great touch points to start to dig into it. So like you say, you was kind of a late starter, so to say, when it come to football. So like, what was happening when you were a kid? Did you always set your sights on it? Was there other avenues or other options? What was going on there?
So basically, like I said, obviously every kid grows up wanting to play football, but my parents were very sort of heavily focused on sort of education, making sure you get your studies done. So I don't want to say they didn't support the dream, but it wasn't sort of what they saw me doing in their eyes, kind of thing. So like when I say I started late, a lot of people I speak to, they've been in the system from sort of 6, 7, 8 years old. I mean, my kids now, I've got 2 kids. I've got a boy that's 8 and a little girl that's 6, and they've been playing football as long as they could, as soon as they could sort of stand up, basically. So I look at them, and me and my brothers always talk about it all the time, and just think, wow, if we had started that young, what could have been, or what could we have done? Like I said, not sort of saying we didn't have that support system, because my mum and dad did everything they could for us, and they're the main reason why we are the people we are today. But yeah, started late. I mean, I started at 17 in the professional game. A lot of these people that I was playing with, they'd been in the system, like I said, from 6, 7, 8 years old. So that's what I mean in terms of starting late.
Yeah. Were you ever like, did you ever like do any other work or any other jobs before 17, before you went into
To be
professional?
honest, there was one summer where, me and my friends, like most sort of teenagers, were thinking, wow, mum and dad ain't gonna be supporting us much more. We need to try and get a bit of pocket money. So I actually ended up working in McDonald's for a little bit before I started playing football. So I'm sure not many people know that, but obviously people within my circle, I actually did a little stint in McDonald's. My brothers loved it because at the end of every shift, there used to be a nice little bag of leftover goodies that I used to bring home. So they were happy with that. But other than that, and other than sort of work experience at building society, those are the only kind of things I did before I started playing football. So one summer in McDee's, the Golden Arches.
So how long was it then after leaving school and then getting into football?
Well, like I said, I'd actually started my sixth form. So I was doing, I think I was doing English literature. I was doing sociology because I was, from a very young age, I was very interested in sort of the psychology and things like that. And then I was doing computer science as well. That was another big interest of mine. So I'd actually already started my sixth form before I had the trials. So obviously when I'd offered the contract, it was a case of, do you take it on, or do you take the challenge, or do you kind of stay on with the education route? And thankfully,
Was that really an option for you when someone comes knocking on your door for?
not for me, but when you got your mum and dad in your ear saying, think about this, like it's not always going to work out, which is right, because it is a hard industry to break into. But listen, life's hard in general. If you want something bad enough, then you can't really go in half-hearted or talk yourself out of it. So like I said, for me, it was a no-brainer, but the parents needed a little bit of convincing. But it was good in the sense, as a YT, you got a bit of education. So we're doing college as well. So they were pleased with that. I think that was probably what sold it, the fact that I was still going to be doing some kind of courses and college work and stuff. So, it worked out for me.
Yeah. So did it go from like there's no opportunities to get into football, I'm starting my sixth form, and then all of a sudden it was, or was it kind of always in the background of a possibility?
Do you know what? I mean, growing up, like I said, I've like played for the school, played a few Sunday league teams, and again, it wasn't something that obviously it was a dream, but it wasn't something that I thought was actually going to happen, if I'm not totally honest. So, it was a kind of, would be nice, but we need to probably focus on something else. So the fact that I even got some trials in the first place was amazing, and then for something to sort of happen off the back of it was obviously a dream come true for me.
So at that point, when like it became a reality that this is an avenue that you now have the choice to go down, what was that like mentally? Like what kind of either turned on or turned off for you?
In terms of, well, like I said, it was a massive opportunity, and one that I kind of just was so grateful for, and I think that's something that's kind of stuck with me throughout my whole career. I always had a big sense of gratitude, and I always try and encourage people to sort of take that view on life in general, because I mean, here I am, young lad, just been signed, 17, getting paid to play football, massive opportunity. And like I said, from day one, right throughout my career, I've always been grateful. So no matter sort of how bad things got, I always just thought, you know what, you could be in a lot worse position. You're going out every day playing football and getting paid for it. So that was always a nice little leveler for me.
Yeah. And what you said, because you mentioned you had a couple of teams that you were going for trials for. So like, how did you make your decision? What was the deciding factor?
So again, I went on trial at Bristol City. I went on trial at Millwall. Bristol City offered me a contract pretty much straight away. Millwall wanted me to come back and train a bit more. And like I said, two things mainly: getting out of London, maybe a bit more focus, and the fact that my cousin was already at Bristol City. I felt like it would help me with the sort of settling in and stuff like that, having someone that you know, family that's around and someone that you know, rather than just stepping out into the unknown, sort of blind, as it were. So those were the two main reasons why I sort of kind of went for the Bristol City.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about football here for you, but if anybody's ever going to pursue anything, there's going to be distractions. And you said you want to get out of London because so you could focus more. Well, what was distracting you in London?
I wouldn't say it was much a distraction, but like I said, you're in London, you know, you kind of got all your family there, you got all your friends there, you kind of everything you've known is there. So it's almost a case of, I think, again, as I've grown up, you kind of learn that, you know, in order for you to kind of grow, in order for you to sort of really push yourself, you've got to come out of your comfort zone. So it would have been easy for me to maybe stay at home with my mum and dad there, my friends there, and all that there. So it was a case of, yeah, not being comfortable and trying to probably fully focus on the massive opportunity that I've been given.
Nice. So, okay, 17, opportunity of a lifetime. You take it with both hands, and then come 19 years of age, so a couple of years in the game. What was it like when you started to now experience that it wasn't all roses?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't nice at all. And again, this is something that I draw on when I'm speaking to, especially the youngsters who want to play football. Because at that time, it is devastating. You go there, you're thinking, wow, this is it. You know, this is what we've been talking about. This is what you're dreaming about, and then the next thing is kind of taken away from you. And like I said, one thing I didn't realize when I was younger and growing up is that that sort of decision made by one person or made by a few people, it is literally down to just opinions. That person's opinion doesn't all of a sudden mean that you're not worthy or you're not a good player or you can't make it in the game. That's just one person's opinion. You might then go to another club and they might think you're the best thing since sliced bread. So what I'm trying to say is, regardless of what anyone or any kind of group of people think about you, as long as you kind of know your own value, know your own worth, then that itself is more important than anything.
Yeah. So was it a case of just like how was it presented to you? Because at 90, was it still Bristol and they
Yeah, it
released?
was Bristol. So I was at Bristol as a youth team player, and then a professional as 2 years, for 2 years, and yeah, just obviously got called into the manager's office. Got told your contract wasn't kind of being renewed, and that is it. Yeah.
And is it the manager that breaks the news?
Yeah, generally, yeah. Obviously, being 19, I can't remember if it was actually first team manager or because I was still kind of under youth team age, etc. That it was either the youth team department or the first team manager because I had been in and around the first team. So, but either way, it's not a nice thing to hear at 19 years old at any age. But you know, obviously, a bit younger, it's probably a bit harder to deal with.
So what was going through your mind at that point? Did you think it was over?
A lot of things, like you said, you just kind of think, you know, where's my next step? And, you know, having not had that many first team games, I think I had one start and maybe a handful of appearances. You kind of go, you know, you go out there sort of not much experience and you're kind of wondering, you know, who's gonna take you? Is this the end? Is this, you know, can you find somewhere to kind of kick on? So it was an uncertain time, shall we say.
Yeah. So how did you deal with that?
So obviously went back to London for a bit. If I'm honest, I think it kind of came to the point where I was just thinking it might be the time to sort of call it a day. I mean, one of the old managers at Bristol City during my time there, he had moved to a team in Norway, and he actually asked me to come over there for a bit. So I went out to Norway. I trained with the team. I was out there for a few days, but for whatever reason, I just didn't settle. I don't know whether it was age. You know, they wanted me to stay out there and train, but I think at 18, 19, it kind of felt like a really, really big step. I mean, London to Bristol was okay, but to go to a whole nother country, it seemed like it was, well, it didn't seem, it was a bit too much and wasn't something that I was sort of willing to do at the time. So came back from Norway, was kind of thinking, you know, that was it. But then I did actually get a call from Forest Green, who I'd previously gone on loan to during my time at Bristol City. And even though it was conference football at the time and it was out of the league, I just thought, you know, I'm going to go for it, get my head down for a season, see what I can do. Because it is difficult to kind of, they say once you come out of the league, it is quite difficult to get back into it. But I just thought, you know what, this seems a better fit for me. I'm gonna go and do that and see how it goes.
So is it like you got to wait for calls to come to you, or is there someone, either you or someone working on behalf of you, that's, you know, putting you out there as well?
Again, at that age, yeah, you have people sort of representing you and looking after you. Like I said, you got not much experience in the game, so you do kind of rely on representatives to try and find you something. But again, something that I do encourage youngsters to do, to get out of your clubs, your parent clubs, and get as many games as you can under your belt. Because if you do find yourself in a situation where you have been released, if you haven't got any kind of first team experience of any kind of men's football, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to find a club. I was quite lucky at that time because, like I said, I didn't have much first team experience, but it obviously helped me, the fact that I'd already gone out on loan. So if I hadn't gone out on loan, we might have been having a different type of conversation. So yeah, generally you have people looking after you, trying to put your name out there. But as I said, as a youngster with not much experience, it wasn't like they were all sort of queuing up to sign me, to be honest.
So what was it like? Was it like mindset wise? Were you, like, when you got released, were you still focused on training? You wanted to stay in shape? Did you kind of take a back seat and, you know, have some time off, or like what happened?
If I'm totally honest, like I said, apart from sort of going out to Norway and doing a bit of training there, it was almost a kind of, at that time, it was almost a kind of, do you know what, this might be the end of the road kind of thing, which it was a bit of a body blow, to be fair, quite devastating. But obviously when I got that call from Forest Green, it was kind of like, not last chance saloon, but it was almost like a bit of a lifeline and a bit of a, you know, give me that sort of lift to think, you know what, it's not over yet. Because if you want something bad enough, you go out and you make a way. So I took the opportunity. Obviously, people that I'd worked with previously, going out on loan during the season, and I just went for it. And luckily for me, it did end up turning out okay.
So, like, because you had that experience of all guns blazing, you know, it was all great, and then you got released. Were you ever playing, or were you ever kind of having in the back of your mind like that could happen again?
I think I'd be lying if I said that it didn't. But again, when you're talking about mindset, you can't sort of go into something with that in the back of your mind, because even if you're trying to give it your all and give it your best, if you've got that sort of negativity sort of in the back of your head, you're never gonna be able to produce. So yes, you kind of go in, and it's almost like not that it's playing in the back of your mind, but it's a realization that, you know, if you don't give it your all, if you don't show what you're all about and play like, you know, it means what you say it means to you, then you'll end up finding yourself in that situation again. So I think going into Forest Green, albeit out of the league, I was kind of spurred on, thinking, you know, I really still want to make a good go of this and try and, you know, forge a career in the game.
So would you say that it was that experience of being released, like, it kind of made you play harder or train harder?
I think obviously being released and having that setback, like anything, it's what makes you stronger. You have to build that resilience. If you are someone that's never kind of gone through any kind of hardship, if you've kind of not dealt with any kind of adversity, then how do you know sort of what you're made of, or how do you know what you're capable of? Even though at times it felt like, you know what, this ain't for me, I could have easily kind of turned down the Forest Green opportunity and said, nah, it's non-league football, it's not for me, I'm just gonna leave. If I can't get back in the league, then I'm not gonna bother. But especially in this day and age, you see how many people kind of come out of non-league and make unbelievable careers for themselves. So like anything, you've always got a choice. So at that point, that was a crossroads for me. I could have turned it down. I could have said no, but I chose to give it another go. I chose to kind of roll up my sleeves and, you know, show what I wasn't able to show in 2-3 years at Bristol City. So it was almost like not trying to prove people wrong, but you're just trying to prove yourself right.
Mm. You know, and obviously we're talking about sports and we're talking about, you know, football here, which from my experience is viewed very differently to other aspects of, you know, life or someone's career or a business. But at the end of the day, this is your business, right? Like you are your business, and a team is your business. But I see it a lot that maybe people don't go for opportunities because it's not like their entry point is a lot higher. It's like, oh, I'll do it if I can come in at this level. Yeah, but you've already
Yeah.
said, well, I could have turned it down. It's not because it's non-league, but I didn't. I went for it. So what like happened because you took advantage of that? Like what then happened for you, and what can you share with people of how that got you to get back in the league?
Well, you've made a very, very, very valid point there. Again, something that I speak to a lot of people about. You kind of see other people higher up the ladder, shall we say, in positions that you want to achieve. But what we don't see is the journey before that, what that person or people or group have had to go through to get to that stage. You don't just happen to be successful. You know, you have to work up towards that. It's just not something that happens overnight. So I signed for Forest Green. I had a full season of men's football, playing week in, week out. I think I ended up being either top goal scorer or second top goal scorer. It was actually at the time Forest Green's highest league position. We had a great cup run that was televised as well. So lots and lots of positives. Made a lot of good friends. Met a lot of good people.
I remember that, by the way.
Do ya?
Yeah. It was the kind of the story of the day, wasn't it? Like, you know, non-league, you know, going on the run. Like this Forest Green came out of nowhere, like nobody had heard of them before, and all of a sudden, you know, we all know about that. Well, anyone who was interested in football, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, you know, it was a great season. One that like I said, I really enjoyed. I was playing week in, week out, in amongst the goals. You know, we had a successful season, and then off the back of that, Cheltenham Town came knocking. So from after just one season, you know, there's an avenue back into the professional game, back into league football. And we've all obviously, like I said, I had a great time at Forest Green. Met a lot of good people. But off the back of that, I've managed to, you know, get a move back into the league with Cheltenham Town. So it was a good season for more than one reason.
Yeah, and was it at that point? Did you play alongside Shane Duff there?
That is where I met Mr. Shane Duff, indeed, the one and only, the legend that he is.
Yeah, awesome. So, were you playing in the same team?
Yeah. So Shane was there with his brother Michael as well, obviously manager now, but Michael wasn't there for very long. He moved on to pastures new, off to Burnley. But, you know, Cheltenham Town, I was there for 4 years. And, you know, like anywhere, if you're there for 4 years, you form some really great relationships. And it was a great little family club. When you kind of look back at the players that were there and what we kind of achieved, you know, it's only then that you realise how big it was. Like I said, met Shane Duff, a lot of good people that I still keep in contact with. You know, I've been back to the club, took my little boy before, obviously, things got a bit sort of funny as we shall we say. So yeah, it's somewhere that I hold really fondly.
Yeah, and you know, I've worked closely with Shane over the last say three and a bit years, and I've seen how he's brought his like me and Shane always have this conversation about like the athlete's mindset. Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you can direct it onto something, you know, positive and not be like wanting to compete for the sake of someone else losing, then it can be very effective. So I've seen what he is like in property investing and in business and with training and coaching. But what was it like, you and him playing in the same team?
It was brilliant. Listen, Shane, like you just touched on there with his attitude and the way he applied himself on the training pitch and in life in general. He's the kind of person you'd want to have on your team, most definitely. You always heard him before you saw him. He was very vocal, but as a defender and you know, captain of the team from time to time, he that's what you want. And like I said, he's a leader, you know, and he's very, very driven. If you've heard his story about the way his career kind of unfolded and what he had to do, that will just tell you everything you need to know about the man, because, you know, what he's had to do to sort of rebuild his life, not just sort of his career off the pitch. You know, a lot of people might not have, no, not might, I know a lot of people that wouldn't be willing to do some of the things that he's done. So I got nothing but respect and love for that man, and it was a pleasure to share the change room with him.
And he says a lot of awesome stuff about you as well, so that's good. That mutual respect there, which in business and in life goes a long way, and that's why if you know, what we see is if people can bring that kind of athlete's mindset into life, then it works very well. So, where did you go? Where did you go after Forest Green? You went to Cheltenham, and then where?
So from Cheltenham, I had 4 years at Cheltenham, and then I got a move to Barnsley in the Championship. Got bought again at that time. I think that was the record for Cheltenham. It was a substantial fee, so went with obviously again high expectations. Looking forward to the challenge. It's the next step up. Went out from Cheltenham on a high. Obviously after a slow start to Cheltenham career after the first 2 years, but finished the last two very strongly. Got you moved Championship now. It's like the next step, next level, and yeah, looking forward to it. It didn't quite work out as I had envisaged. You know, sort of coming off the back of 2 strong seasons at Cheltenham, top goal scorer both seasons, offer promotion and staying up in League One, you kind of probably go into Barnsley, people expecting certain things of you, and it didn't come to fruition. Even so, I'm one of those that kind of try and look at the positives. Like I said, a lot of positives to take out of it. But yeah, let's just say it wasn't the best in terms of the football career, depending on how you look at it, of course.
And how do you look at it?
Like I said, I try and look at things from a positive angle. It was a positive. I mean, it was a chance for me to play in the Championship, a chance for me to play with some great people. It was a good club, and like I said, I got a lot of time for the fans, even though sometimes during that stint, I did have people sort of getting on my back. But for me, that is part and parcel of football. The fans pay their money to watch the game, so they're entitled to view their opinions. It wasn't always a positive one towards me, but like I said, I'm big enough to take that on the chin, and you know, you have to in this sort of not just in football, but I think in life, because you've got to kind of roll with the punches. If you don't, then you can let things take you under. But like I said, yeah, I dealt with it.
So how did that happen? Was it just like on game days, you know, from the crowd? Was there anything outside, like in the training ground? Was there anything online? Like how was...
To be honest, there's one particular game that sticks in my mind, and I think we were playing Crystal Palace. We were playing Crystal Palace at home, and to be honest, I had a good game in terms of putting myself about, you know, working hard, doing my bit for the team. Well, I think I had a good game anyway. There was a couple of opportunities to score that I probably should have done better with, and you know, I'm never one to sort of shy away from that. I'll always hold up my hand. So I'm not sure if we got the result we wanted. So as a striker, you'll know as well that you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You're there to be sort of, if you're not scoring the goals, then, you know, people are going to come for you. So that one particular game, I think, like I said, a few chances that I probably should have scored, should have done better. And I just remember that's just one game that sort of stands out in my mind, that when things sort of started to turn in terms of fans getting on your back, getting a bit sort of, you know, voicing their sort of their feelings, should I say. So yeah, it was one of them things that you kind of just have to take as a footballer. And yeah, you just take it on the chin, you just roll out your sleeves and try and give your best whenever you get the opportunity.
But what's going on in your mind? Because you say, yeah, it's like in football, but also in life, like when when people's opinion or like people are saying things, you know, about you or to you, like what was going through your mind, and like how did you cope with that? How did you deal with it?
I think there's, like I said, you have to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, then it just takes you under. So you have to become a bit tough skinned to it. So what I
Was
would say,
there a time where it took you under?
pardon, sorry?
Was there ever a time where it did take you under?
No, I don't think so. And, you know, I've always been quite a positive person, more positive the older I get. I think what people have this misconception about positive people. So it's not that you don't get affected by negative things. I think it's just you deal with them better and you react to them better. So listen, I'm human just like anyone else. So when you hear certain things or you read certain things, it will affect you. It will, but it's kind of you take it for a moment or so, and then you think, do you know what? Got to shake it off. Got to dust yourself down, and you have to get on with it. So if you are if you don't, it's a case of trying to protect your energy. So if, for example, you're listening to stuff or reading things that might be detrimental to your well-being, then you kind of keep away from all that. So I found that at that time I wasn't sort of picking up a paper to look in the paper. I wasn't kind of listening to anything. I wasn't, not that I would generally look on fans forums or anything like that, but you know, people would say, oh, you know, have you heard this or have you said that? And I just shut off from it. I kind of keep away from it, because even the most positive person, like I said, you will get affected. So it's a case of protecting your energy, surrounding yourself with the right people and the right things. And that's what I try to do all the time.
Yeah, that is awesome. So, so when did that awesome time in your career come where you scored that goal, that awesome goal that we rewatched? It's one of those moments where we like show the clip. Yeah, but so whenabouts did that come, and what was that like?
So yes, that's like talking 12 years ago now. So it's probably, like, again, my first season at Barnsley. You know, in and out of the team, not scoring, not doing particularly great in terms of goal return. The team struggling as well. You know, we're fighting against relegation, and then we just end up going on this unbelievable cup run. I mean, we beat Liverpool away at Anfield, where they hadn't been beaten for X amount of years. I was on the bench for that game. Come on. And then you beat them, and you think you can't get any better. And then you got a home tie against Chelsea in the quarterfinals, and the winner gets to play at Wembley, the new Wembley, for the first time. So it's kind of like, yeah, the stuff dreams are made of. So again, like I said, we're struggling in the league. I haven't scored for ages. I get the nod. I start the game, and you know, luckily enough for me, I managed to get that decisive goal. You know, we win 1-0. It goes down in history. The team has done unbelievably well. And you got little old Barnsley beating Liverpool and Chelsea on the way to the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley in front of 90,000 people. So, you know, yes, you can look back at that season and think about all the negative stuff. But like I said, when you talk about that, you know, how can you not look on that with nothing but positivity?
So was there a difference in the changing room, like in the games against Liverpool and Chelsea versus when you were having the league games?
I think, and it is very cliche, but you know, especially if you're not doing well in the league, when you go to a cup game, it's kind of like not a switch off, but it's a one-off game. It's a cup run, so you kind of sort of switch your attentions and channel your energy into something else. And when you're coming up against the likes of Liverpool and the Chelsea's, kind of no one gives you a chance anyway. So it's a case of, well, we'll go out there, we'll do what we can and see what comes of it. And to get a result against teams like that, you got to be sort of 110% and hopefully catch them on an off day. And you know, we managed to do that not once but twice. So it was it was a great time, a really great time, and massive positive from that season for everyone.
So would you say there was a different mindset in the team, like before these games?
It's hard to say there isn't, because like I said, you're in the league, you're struggling against relegation, so it's a different kind of pressure. You go into the cup games, you go into a game where no one's kind of giving you a chance anyway, so it's natural to probably be a bit more relaxed, because you know if you lose, that's what everyone expected anyway. If you lose, it's not going to sort of damn you that, like, get you relegated. It's not going to sort of send the team down, which is on, you know, the bread and butter for the club and very important. So it is a bit of a different mindset. It's a different way. Or should I say, it's a different perception. The way you look at the game, the way you go into the game, and you know, it makes you probably a bit more relaxed. And you know, we obviously felt the benefits of that because we managed to put in 2 really great performances. And having said that, I really truly and believe that cup run's probably what spurred us on to manage to stay up in the league in the end. So, you know, all's well that ends well.
That's good. So, seeing as I'm a Liverpool fan, let's skip straight to the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
What was it like in the dressing room after that game when you won?
It was, you can imagine, it was unbelievable. It was just, yeah, I can't even begin to tell you. You know, there was.
Was it like you won the cup itself?
Pardon, sorry.
Was it like you won the cup itself?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, we just beaten Chelsea at home, and it was just like, how have we even done that? You know, we were holding on for dear life at the end, and the boys at the back done unbelievably well. And you know, we had another ex-Cheltenham boy in there, Mr. Martin Devaney. You know, he got a couple of assists, one in the Liverpool game, one in the Chelsea game. So it was all a bit surreal, to be fair, and it took a good few days for me personally for it to all kind of really sink in. It was just unbelievable. When you look back now and look at the names on that team sheet, it's kind of, yeah, it's crazy to think what we achieved that day.
Brilliant. And were you able to take anything from like that kind of environment that you created, that kind of sense of celebration, back into the league, and did it make any difference?
I think it did. Like I said, we beat Liverpool, we beat Chelsea, we got to the semi-final, and you know, we didn't manage to get that result. But from that, you know, how can you not sort of have that belief when you've just beaten sort of the likes of Liverpool and the likes of Chelsea? It just shows that, you know, if you kind of apply yourself in the right manner, if you go into the game correctly, like we always talk about with your mindset and your approach, you've just beaten Liverpool and Chelsea. So it's a case of channeling that and using it in the league. And I think we did. I mean, the first game after we lost in the semi-final, we went away to Watford, who were pushing for promotion, and we beat them. I think it was 2-0, 2-1. So, you know, we really kicked on and, you know, managed to get the results to stay up. So it was a good season, because for a team like Barnsley, you know, you're always sort of punching above your weight in that league. There's some really big teams in the Championship. So, you know, great cup run that no one expected. Managed to stay in the league, even though we probably would have liked a bit of a higher finish. But, you know, we ended the season well.
So, bearing all that in mind, then, like, you know, when I first left school, I was like a labourer, like in the building trade on site. So I was very physically demanding. Plus, I was still training, playing football. I used to train and play like 6 days a week. Yeah. And some people who worked office jobs who didn't play football, yeah, as well, they used to come and tell me they're tired. And I'm like, what? Like, because all I knew was physical activity.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. Yeah. And I was like, how can you be? But like, since then, which I think has helped, that kind of like journey helped me. But since then, I also understand there's like mental activity and an emotional activity. When people are going through life and you're going through your career, and people going through business, and they've got relationships, they've got families, they've got money, you know, they've got challenges, you know, like the whole economy gets turned upside down and stuff starts happening that people would just never even could have ever guessed. Like, there becomes this time, and I really want to get your opinion on this, of like where people like need to have a rest. But there's a fine line, though. There's a fine line, because this rest, physically, I was told, I know you was told, but I was told, like, when you're training, the rest period is as important as the training. Was that the same for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's during that period that you kind of you use that as an opportunity to kind of rejuvenate your body, rejuvenate your mind, ready to put in that work that needs to be done. So I think I don't know, rest can be sort of misinterpreted almost as if rest is an excuse to sort of sit down and do nothing. But I just think rest can be so many different things. Obviously in the sports
The other
world.
way around, though, right? So
Pardon?
like so. Oh, what happened there? Well, let's hope maybe his battery has gone, so hopefully we can get him back on very soon. But what we're saying, by the way, share this. We got someone who's beaten Liverpool Football Club, Chelsea Football Club on here, bringing his mindset, giving you the backstory. There's so much value here. So give it some reactions here. Give it a like, give it a share. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you like this here as well. And hey, we got Kay back in the room. So let's bring him back on here.
I'm not sure what happened there. It wasn't battery though. The battery's fully charged, so I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh, good. You're back. You're back.
Apologies.
So, no worries. So what we were just saying here, like you mentioned, rest could be kind of seen as, oh, I'm sitting there doing nothing. And I've seen people, they're like, I don't want to rest because, I've got things to do.
Yeah.
Then the other side of it, and let's discuss the both sides of it, is like someone could be being lazy and trying to label it as I'm resting. Like what's the fine line there mentally and physically?
I think again, number one, you have to be 110% honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, then you're sort of on a hide into nothing. You know well and truly when you need to rest. If you are not able to be productive, if what you're doing is detrimental to your long-term goal, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to set out, then yeah, you might feel like you need a rest. If it's a case of, do you know what, I can't be bothered to do that today, so I'm going to label this as a rest. There's a saying that, needs must. If you have to do something, if you need to do something, you will find a way to do that, won't you? So it's a case, again, it comes down to that desire. It comes down to that work ethic. It comes down to how badly you want to achieve what it is you say you want to achieve. So yeah, you might be tired, but if things need to get done and you are still physically capable of doing that, then where does the rest come in, if you get what I mean? If you're telling me that what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to do, you're not being productive or as productive as you can be, then yeah, that's when you probably have to look at like, all right, let me take a little recharge, let me take a little step back, and then I'm going to go at it again. But if it's a case of, that's what I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. If it's a case of, do you know what, I'm not really feeling it today because it's this or that, or I can't be bothered, or this ain't really, then for me that's not a rest. That's just a case of you don't want it as bad as you want it. If it's a case of you can't be as productive as you want to be, or something is going to hinder that, then yeah, that's when you have to look at it and think, all right, then I need to rest, I need to recharge.
And so when you obviously throughout your career, you've going to have had various coaches, various mentors, various trainers, and you as a trainer yourself now, like what is it that you could advise people to look out for so they can, because in the heat of the moment they might want to, like, either it's being lazy or they won't do something because of some kind of fear. So like, what is it that they can look out for to determine, like, do I genuinely need to take a rest here, or am I just being lazy?
Again, it comes down to being honest with yourself. So as a trainer especially, it's very difficult because I can't feel what you're feeling. If I'm training you and you're telling me this hurts or I'm a bit tired, I don't know what you're feeling, so I have to take your word for it. This is where the honesty comes into it, and this is where, as an individual, you know your body better than anyone else. So I'll always say, look, if it's a case of you're going to hurt yourself or injure yourself, then come on, let's take a rest. But if it's a case of you just can't be bothered today, or it's a bit harder, or you're a little bit, under the weather, then is that really a need to have a rest? And it's so difficult because you have to take that person's word for it. So this is where the 100% honesty comes sort of from the other person. Like, I'm a bit the other way, having come from a professional background. I probably don't know when to rest, so I probably do sort of overtrain sometimes. But again, that's my personal mentality. whereas someone else, they might feel half of what, say, me or you feel, and they think, oh, do you know what, that's a bit much, that's a bit too much. So it is a difficult one because it is down to personal preference, and like I said at the top, it's down to being totally honest with yourself and knowing your body properly.
So do you think it's going to come down to how much people actually want to push themselves?
I think essentially it is. I mean, and something that stuck to me with me that I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do read a lot of things. And when you look at sort of people in the military, especially like Navy SEALs, there's this one saying that I've heard, and they say when you're at that point where you feel like you literally have got no more to give, then you're actually only at about 40%. So if you think about when you've had a really hard day, or if you had a really hard session, you think, wow, I've got literally nothing else to give. You are actually only at about 40%. And that is what they say. But we're talking about, when you talk about mindset and sort of mental strength, people like Navy SEALs, they're a different kettle of fish. So you can imagine the strength of mind of someone like that to say, when you're flat out, you're only actually at 40%, not even halfway, you're only at 40%. So, and that's the difference. That's what it comes down to. It's the individual mentality and mindset. And you have to you have to kind of build that.
So what's interesting about that, the question is then, well, let's say I make that improvement and I keep going that extra 60%. If now going forward in my training, I think, oh, I'm spent, am I at the new 40% again?
So the thing is, for every level of your life, there's always going to be needed a new level of effort. So like I say to people, if you've worked with me for say 6 months, you're looking a lot leaner, you're looking a lot stronger, you're looking a lot fitter. What that level of effort that's got to you to where you are at this point in time is not going to be enough to get you to the next level. So there's always a next level. There's always a next level. So again, comes down to how much you want to push. So a lot of people, they start off with these goals and aspirations. They get to a certain stage, and when they realize, oh, I'm going to have to do a lot more to get to where I want to be. That's where people fall off. So like I said, you have to it's a case of you keep leveling up as much as you want to. You get to a certain level, what you've used and what you've achieved before that is not going to be enough to get you to the next level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that for me now it's getting interesting, because we're talking about like discovering true potential in people, and in fact that's one of our programs, that's one of our taglines, is like discovering your true potential. But so let me ask you this: does it mean if I want to go to the next level that I've got to put more time in, or is there a way to get more out the time?
So do you have to put more time in, or is there a way to get more out of time? And the simple question to that is, it's a case of you have to do everything and everything. Anything that's going to give you that extra 1%, anything that's going to give you that little bit more than what you previously had, then like I said, if you want it bad enough, you're going to have to do it. So yes, like I always say to people who might say, I haven't got time to work out, I haven't got time to do this. If you want to really do that something, one, you'll make the time for it. And that time that you've made for it, however little or big that is, you will utilize that to your maximum. Do you know what I mean? So as I've grown up, as I've got older, I've got 2 kids now, like I mentioned. So it kind of comes harder to get in time for yourself. So I've started something that I probably would never believe that I would have done. So I'm up literally 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. So that's my time to get stuff done before the kids are up, before I have to get them ready for school, before I have to do this and that. Because if I don't do that, then it's going to be difficult for me to find that time during the day. So that's an example of me, one, making time. And then during that time, depending on what else I've got on during the day, I kind of utilize that as to what I kind of do. So there's certain things that, excuse me, I call the non-negotiables, which things that I will make sure I do every single day. And then everything else, I kind of try and fit in as and when the day allows it to. So yes, you have to make time, and 2, you have to utilize that time that you've made. So for me, you have to do both.
Awesome. So if I was training 1 hour a day, yeah, and I wanted to get more out of it, would you say that, or like, let's say I get to a certain, level of fitness,
Yeah.
do I have to put more time in? So the first question is, do I have to put more time in, or can I get more out of the time in that 1 hour if that's what I'm training?
Yeah.
And like, where does the mindset training coming in? Is it all in the session, or is there some continued mindset things that need to be done outside of a session to get fit?
So on the first question, in terms of leveling up, you've still got that same 1 hour. Again, when I'm talking to clients, it's a case of giving your muscles that stimulus. So after a while, however you're training, your body and your muscles will become accustomed to that. It will get used to that because the body's clever like that. So you have to make your training progressive. So you can do it in a number of ways. You can increase the weight, you can decrease your rest time, you can increase your reps, you can increase your sets, you can increase your tempo. There's loads of different ways to give your muscles that stimulus. So you're making your muscles work harder. You might have the same hour, switch up your session. Like I said, increase the weight, increase the reps, increase the sets, decrease your rest. As long as you are making that body think, making your body work, giving your muscles that stimulus to work harder, because that's how your muscles will grow. And then in terms of outside of the gym, like we've just talked about, making your muscles grow, if we're talking about mindset, if we're talking about being strong mentally, you want to build muscle on your body, you train in the gym. You want to create a stronger mindset, you got to train your mind. So listen, read, watch things that are going to make you stronger mentally, things that are going to make you more robust and have a stronger mindset, so you can deal with the things that life throws at you in a better way. You want to get strong, you lift weights. You want to make your mind strong, you listen, read, and watch the right things.
Awesome, that is great. So we're gonna wrap this up, but to wrap it up, we've got to have this one important question that I always ask everybody.
Yeah.
So we will get to that. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, adding the value. Listening to you right here, I can feel there's absolute gems in here. And it's not laid out like a training program or anything else. I think they're like little gems that if people see them and if they realize them and they put them into action based on what we've been discussing here and what you've been saying, there's huge benefits for people to go and get. So like if someone wanted to reach out to you or understand about your training, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, ODJ Lifestyle and Fitness, so you can reach out to me there. My wife runs the Facebook page, again, ODJ Lifestyle and Fitness. So hit us up, send us a message. You can use this live as a point of reference. And I know you've listened in, and I know you've got the right mindset and you're right kind of person that that wants to be worked with. So yeah, just hit us up on our social media, no problem at all.
Nice. Awesome. So thanks again, Kay, for coming on here. It's been super valuable. And we always say, like, if just one person takes one thing and it can change the trajectory of what they were doing and where they were going, it's been worth it. But many people will see this, and we're going to put it all over our different channels as well in the due course of the next few weeks. So just got one question to ask you, okay, and that is that in our community, we always say that we can never, ever, ever let people forget that they must do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Because if you're not doing that thing for the right reason, then I think ultimately for me, you're never gonna it won't be 100% genuine, and you won't get the most out of it. So again, looking at business or career paths, for example, I don't think you can, if you're passionate about something, I don't think you can get into it thinking about how much money you're going to make. I'll use myself as an example. In the PT, personal fitness training industry, I've got into that because I've got a genuine passion to help people, to make people become better. I get a genuine joy out of doing that for someone. So when I go, for me, it's not even light work. It's not work to me. It may be my job, but it's not work for me. So I think that has to come first, because then you will get that maximum productivity. You're doing things out of from a genuine place. And I think when you're doing that, it will show in your work, and all the benefits and all the positives and everything else will come after that. So whatever it is you decide to do, whatever it is you want to do, whatever aspirations you got, make sure it has to be for the right reasons. Because if you're not going in it for the right reasons, you're never going to give it your all. That's my own take on it.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is brilliant. And you know what? We always ask that because I like to get all kinds of different people's aspects on what does it mean to do the right thing for the right reason. But if you can just say this for us now, because I think what you just said kind of translates to this anyway. But in our community, what we say is you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because it's the only way to discover your true potential.
Absolutely.
Can you say that when I ask you?
Yes, I can, if I can remember it now.
Yeah, so it's the only way to discover your true potential. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kay, we can never let people forget that they got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
You've got to do the right thing for the right reason, because it's the only way to discover your true potential.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. That is brilliant. So
No
our real life tribe mastermind is coming up after this. So some people watching this will be jumping onto there now. Kay, thanks again.
No problem at all. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, brilliant to see you on here. And as
Yes,
thank you for everybody watching, and let us know any people's questions, even after, if this is on the replays, by #replay, and let us know the questions. And just like Kay said, you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way to discover